Hello, foxes and foxettes. How the devil are we? Well, I hope. We've not had a very good start to the season, but look, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We're just going to go and visit the World Club Champions tonight. Be a piece of piss, won't it?
It's time! Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
And now, here's your host.
Right, Chris.
All right, how the devil are we? Welcome along. Yeah, what's to worry about this weekend? You know, we can't hold a lead against Brentford. We can't beat Arsenal, who in fairness absolutely taught us a lesson. And we go up against 1-0 against a team that we beat 9-0, and we can't even hold on to the 1-0. So going to the World Club Champions, it shouldn't really be a problem, should it? It is, and it's a new look show new look intro, new look show for the new season. We're going to do things slightly different in the previews. We're going to have the first 10 minutes or so just saying a few hellos, and we'll be looking at the stats. And then about 15 minutes into the chat, we will be looking at we'll be talking with our guests. And we'll be a bit early tonight, simply because Ankit, you may remember Ankit, a big Chelsea fan, based in India, so he's at about 4 o'clock in the morning now already, so probably not that late, but you know what I mean. So he will be absolutely joining us, but we've come a bit early, in fairness, otherwise he'll be doing a cam from his bed, and we probably don't want to see that. And then at the end, when we say goodbye to him, then with Craig, we've got Craig's tactics, and he will also be picking his team as well. Not the team that he thinks Brendan will play, but the team that he thinks we should be playing. Yeah, we know that's not going to match, is it? And if you're doing nothing tonight, at 10 o'clock, a little bit different this week because we've got different games and things coming on this week. But at 10 o'clock, we're going to be looking at the press conference given by Brendan Rodgers earlier. I haven't seen it yet. Excuse me 1 second. I'll take a drink. Got a bit of a frog in my throat. I've not seen it yet, so we'll be going through that live with Brad at 10 o'clock, so join us again for that. If you are new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 1.5. It really, really, really would help. And if you have subscribed, press those likes, because that makes the big difference with YouTube's algorithms. But this is where you can find us.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform, or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. Broadcasting live worldwide.
Indeed. Scott Chapman, welcome along. How the devil are you, sir? You ask, are we after Amni Harif, is it Hamni Harit from Schalke? I've got to be honest with you, we've been linked with him, but we've been linked with so many players and we haven't got the money. We can't. I mean, Nice have just signed Nicolas Pepe on loan, who we were linked with. I mean, I'm not saying this this gentleman, Moroccan, he's one of the, he has been linked with us. He's one of the latest linked with us. Attacking midfielder and can play on either wing. Brilliant. Brendan, we know, likes players that can play either side and switch positions. But if we can't afford Lookman, then we'll be talking about that a lot more, I'm sure, in the show tonight at 10 o'clock. Terry's in. Good evening. How the devil are you, Terry? As he says there. And thank you very much for that, Terry. Please do sign. Please do sign. What am I saying? Please do make sure to sub and like. It really does mean a lot. Look. Scott's in. Hello, everyone. Hope you are well. Everybody's saying hello to everybody else. I forgot. Yes, I forgot. We couldn't score against the League Two side either, who are only just above the relegation zone to take them out of the league altogether. Embarrassing, isn't it? Embarrassing. Yes, we do remember. Evening, Spencer. Spencer's in. How are you? Terry says, Jason Bourne, best questions again. Yeah, but, well, yes. Owen's made a few points as well. Like I say, we'll be going through it in a lot more detail at 10 o'clock, so we'll be discussing it then. Ray is in. Good evening, Ray. How are you? Welcome along. If you are new, please be sure to press that subscribe button. Sack Rogers now. It's depressing having him still here. It's like we have no hope. And I've just seen what's coming up here. I'm with you. I think he should have gone Monday morning. And you watch, you'll probably turn it around now and prove me totally wrong. I always tend to back a loser. Yeah, well, I said it, didn't I? A loser. It is getting so like the 12 days. It really is. Mark, good evening. So how are you? Mark Anderford, evening, Chris. Difficult time for us at the minute. Time for Brendan to go. Little Wes needs to go as well. Only commitment required. Yes, indeed. And we'll be talking about him, obviously, because we're playing Chelsea. We should have took 70 million for the crybaby. Well, I'm a yes with that now. If it's 70 million, just get on with it. That said, though, should we not have taken 11 million for Vestergaard when Fulham came in? Because they've now gone elsewhere and we're stuck with him as well. I'm sure this isn't, but Hamza Chowdhury from Watford. Look at the good there. I've forgotten your real name, mate, but well done. Like it. Had a good game for you by what I saw. You see, this is me as well, Andrew, right? This is totally me. And we'll come on to say all the stats in a second, but if I was James Maddison, Jamie Vardy, Mark Albrighton, one of my teammates suddenly was not in the right mind to play. And as somebody who has suffered a hell of a lot over the last 12 months with depression and anxiety issues, let's keep that aside, whether he has or he hasn't. Well, we don't know what that involves, and I never ever knew what it was until I had it, if you like. I know I come on here and I'm happy, jolly. You put a mask on at certain times of your life, so let's leave that side out. He said he is, so we'll give him the benefit of that. But just sit surrounded by Leicester fans, although he wasn't surrounded. There was a gap around him, which made me wonder if he'd farted or not, and not celebrate when Maddison scores the goal. I wouldn't want to play with him again, would you? You can't even cheer for the teammates. He's on what, 70 grand plus a week? I give up. I do give up because, as I say, I know he's training with the under 21s now. So, best, like I say, let's take the 70 million and get him out. I mean, let's be honest with you, he'll be doing exactly the same to Chelsea when Real Madrid or Barcelona come knocking, won't they? Chelsea, be warned. Vestergaard didn't want the pay cut, awful contracts being handed out. It was a bit desperate to get him because of the Fofana injury. We did need the cover, but yes, we have got a lot of players that are being paid, so a lot more than they are worth. Ray, we can't afford to lose Fofana. We need to keep our talented players and not trade them like Kante, Mahrez, build for the future. Look, we don't need to sell. Of course, we don't need to sell, but we will sell because that's part of our plan. We buy in cheap, we sell out huge. But the difference is you've got Tielemans who wants to leave, who said he's wanted to leave for 12 months. So, he's given us the notice, in fairness. He's just going through a bad stage. But last season, he played as best he could in the position he was being asked to play. And you know what? He was celebrating winning the corner. And then you've got the likes of Mahrez and Mahrez Mark II, a.k.a. Fofana, who go on strike. So, that you don't need those players there. 70 million, we've made a bomb on him. Maybe we should take it. Craig's come in and we'll be getting him in a minute, so not started the figures yet. Craig, what was your reaction when Leicester won the Premier League? Mood it? Too drunk to remember. Drunk to remember. I'd like to see how the fans react. Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, they got booed off at Stockport, didn't they? So it's the same as last year when he was injured. I mean, we paid him for 10 months, so some would say loyalty means something, but apparently not. Let me just see how I'm going to do this, because there was a way. There we go. That was what I wanted to do. Then you can see me in my full beauty. So it's Wednesday. Craig, please bear with us. If you need to water the plants or anything like that, you have still got time. And I do apologise. It's been a bit chaotic, as I'm sure you will appreciate. So yeah, Wednesday at 3:00, we are travelling to the World Club Champions. And like the forget who it was said earlier, we couldn't even put a goal past the team 6 from the bottom of the whole football league. Hey, don't worry, Brendan's got a plan. If he knows what that plan is, I'd be interested to find out, but I don't know. But apparently he has got a plan. These are the stats going into the game. So not had a good start season. We've lost one. Although we did have last time we played Chelsea, which was last season, the game before the last one, we actually drew with them. Chelsea, they've been on a bit of form. I mean, Leeds beat them 3-0. So it shows it can be done, Brendan. I mean, you like making your notes. So let's see if you make any notes if you watch that at all. Probably didn't. It's probably out having a glass of expensive red wine. These are the Opta stats. As you can see, we don't come out very well against Chelsea. But in fairness, it's not huge gaps. Ankit's with us as well. Ankit, brilliant. I'll bring you in 1 second, mate. Shots, 25. We had 20. Chelsea's accuracy was 48. Ours is 40. Passes attempted, they're only 49 more than us. Passes completed, again, about 50 more than us. Interception, 6 more than us, and blocks only 1. So comparing the two teams, it's not such, like I say, a huge difference, which is shocking. This is Chelsea's start to the season. I'm sure Ankit knows all this, but I will go through it anyway. So Chelsea's ball possession was just over 62%, 353 attacks, 11 offsides, 12 shots on target, 33 off target, 30 corners, 8 yellow cards, 1 red one, of course, and an average rating of 6.6. And the thing that gets me is, I would have expected that to be higher. Certainly the shots on target, 12. That's only 3 a game. And let us now have a look at Leicester, shall we, just to see how we compare. So, ball possession, 55%, just over. 331 attacks, 5 offsides, 7 shots on target, 20 off target, 9 corners, 3 yellow cards, nobody sent off yet, 6.72 rating. So we're not a million miles apart, but again, as I always say, the one stat, obviously the important one is how many goals, obviously, but to me, the biggest stat that I look at aside from that is the shots on target. We are a Premier League team. If we can only do 7 shots, I mean, that's 2.053 or something shots per game. It's pathetic, absolutely pathetic. We've met 32 times, have Chelsea and ourselves. They've won 16, we've won 6, we've drawn 10, and we've actually won twice at their place. It's all looking so good. Now you know why I do this right at the start, and we get it out the way. Because it's scary. It really is. The last 2 meetings, well, we drew 1-1 at the back end of last season, and of course, earlier on in the season when it was a little bit injury ravaged, so we say. Chelsea beat us 3-0 at our place. And then here you can see the form that they've got and the last games. Chelsea are in 12th, is it? Yeah, and I think we are in 18th. I mean, that is sackable. If you were looking at Ranieri, that is sackable. We'll come on to the score predictions later. We'll also come on to the Craig's team choice and Craig's stats later as well. Is this the preview for Roger's last game in charge? I honestly, Rich, I thought I'd done that on Tuesday night. I really did. I was getting ready for the loss at penalties, and it's great when you actually beat a League Two side, say only 6 places off relegation, and you only beat them because they're worse at penalties than us. I was just checking what you'd written here, Spencer. If that idiot, and that's Rodgers, he means, comes out after the Chelsea game and says we didn't move the ball quickly enough in the final third again, I will scream, or the manager moved. Tell you what, I can't even read it out. I mean, we might have a too inexperienced side, mightn't we? That was what he said. And then we got beaten by Southampton, the youngest side in the Premier League since 2017. I have the theory Rodgers writing in his notebook, taking the orders from his chip shop for the players on the way home quite often, quite possibly. Yeah, Ankit, thank you very much, sir. Like he says, let's all like the stream. And be sure, if you like your football, if you like your cricket as well, get over there. The link is in the description below on YouTube. Do support Ankit there. He does a lot. And they're going in for Gordon. It's funny then, guess we won't shoot unless we are aimish. Certain will score 5 goals from 7 shots a goal. That's a great average. No, don't answer you. You can make what you want of these stats. This is Leicester Till I Die. This is the match preview. Let's get our guests in. And just remember, this is where you can
watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform,
Or ask your smart speaker.
to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. Broadcasting live worldwide.
Indeed. Oh, look at us all there. I'm big and you two are small. That can't be right, can it? There we go. That's what it should have been. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening. Long time no see. As in great always to see both of you. Of course, back in the day, I remember that I was once the top of the leaderboard, and I keep saying that, but that's the
You were
difference.
top for, I would tend to say, 2/3 of the season, and then you did a Man United and fell away on the last day, or Leicester, I should say, I suppose.
Time to let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's one of those bragging things that I have, which is not to be bragged about, but still, I like that's the only thing I have. So let's go for it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a new quiz coming up this year, Ankit, so we'll put you down for it.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
you think you're going to get top with that one? I've
We will
read the
see.
rules, and yeah, good luck with that. But welcome along. Where can people find you, Ankit?
Yeah, first of all, thanks again for bringing me on. And again, for people out there, by chance you don't know, for me, Leicester LTIDtv is one of the top channels that I've been at, and I've actually, watched myself. I know that these days I'm kind of producing a lot more content, so I'm not getting as much time. But if possible, I'd probably be discussing with Chris any day and with Craig as well. So for me, you can find me on Almighty Blues FC. That is where you can find 100% football content. Yes, I am a Chelsea fan, but I call it a fan channel for all to see because I try and cover the top 5 leagues, all the major teams, and even international football. And that's something that I've been doing on from the last few months. But there is a second channel that is called Almighty Sports Plus, and that is basically a combination of international football as well as some cricket and some some other sports. So if you are interested in more sports, you can always get onto that. But again, thanks for having me.
Brilliant, and you're welcome along. I say the link the link is below in the description on YouTube. Craig, I'm just watching. Turned my head. I've got the Sky Sports transfer show on, and realised I'd missed Leicester, and I'm sat here thinking, so what? I mean,
I just literally as I was listening to you go through the stats, John Percy tweeted that from a good source, Chelsea are going to come back in again for Fofana. I think if they get anywhere near now, and forget all these add-ons of, just put the money down and you'll get him, and we can all move on. I think that's the way to go now.
If you see that there, it hasn't come out very well. I tried to do it, but that was Wesley Fofana. Probably about 6-7 months ago, was it, when he signed his new contract until 2027?
That's that March, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is what it says on that board behind him. That's actually the board in the ground. But it hasn't come out very well, but I did attempt. I mean, Ankit, please just come and pay him and take him away. All I will say is, if you do get him, good luck, because if you've had him a couple of seasons, forget whatever deal you've signed with him, because if Barcelona, Real Madrid, and no disrespect to Celtic, because obviously you are World Cup champions, so I'm not disrespecting you, but if one of those clubs comes knocking on the door, he'll drop Chelsea out of his Instagram and his Twitter, and he'll go on strike.
See, you hit the nail on the head, because you know what, again, just coming back to the point of 6 to 7 months, 6 to 7 months is a very long time in football, and we know that things can change. We had someone who came to Chelsea as a dream, and he went back the way he did on loan to Inter. We know what we're talking about. So Fofana, being someone who has been at Leicester for now quite a while, and in fact he's gone through that injury that he went through, and then Leicester just really judged him on his ability, what he was before injury, and still offered him that contract. And that is why it is even more surprising for me the way it has come out. Again, people might say, come on, Leicester, Chelsea, you said Barcelona, maybe we are talking about 3 tiers. Again, no disrespect to any club, but I'm just talking in terms of today as well as history, if you put together. That's what you can argue in terms of as a footballing point of view. But there comes a point, right? Basically that Maguire, you can argue that fine. Even he went from Leicester to Manchester United at the time, but he was starting for England, and he was probably the main man for England at the time, versus a Fofana who for France, if he's picked, he'll consider himself lucky today. That's the honest opinion. Yes, he's done brilliantly in the period that he's done, no two ways about it, but he has that odd mistake in him still. I don't think Maguire was that at Leicester at that point. So I am like, I don't know whether it's just a modern day footballers, how they think that they can just call the shots and they can pull power, and that's the red flag for me, because Chelsea has been that club which is infamous for player power. So if he does that at Chelsea again, I don't think it's going to lead to anything. So I have my red flags, but considering the situation of the new ownership, considering we lost Rudiger, we lost, of course, Christensen, and the fact that Aspilicueta is ending next year, Silva will probably be ending as well. We need simply some bodies who can defend. Yes, at 75 million, absolutely no two ways about it. It's a bit too much, more than a bit of too much. But that's the reality of football now, and clubs know our situation.
You say, is it too much? I mean, in fairness, Man City paid it was $1 billion for Grealish, who isn't a regular starter. And I think that the big thing is that Maguire was older than Fofana. Fofana's a lot younger. I think he's only just 21. Is that right, Craig?
He is, yeah.
21. So, he's a lot younger than when we sold Maguire. He will probably end up in the French team for the World Cup. You virtually answered it, so I'm going to throw this back at Craig. Are we not glad to be rid of a player that isn't a team player, that can't even stand up and celebrate when the club that's paying his wages, the club that's paid his wages for 10 months while he's been, and he got injured at work. So where there's a blame, there's a claim, as they say. But we've paid his wages for 10 months. He sat there and never even applauded, stood up or anything when his team that's paying his wages scored. The guy is literally a leech, isn't he?
I've got a few things to say about Fofana and Chelsea. Firstly, to answer that question.
Here we go.
Firstly, to answer that question, Chris, for me, I think I tweeted at the time, Fofana is showing everything that's wrong with the modern game is epitomised in what Fofana is doing now. And for me, I think we're trying to negotiate the best deal we can. But I think if you read between the lines, I think Brendan wants him out now. I think everyone at the club wants him out. They just want to get as much money for him as possible and as much of that up front and without any add-ons so they can go and try and spend some of it. Secondly, Chelsea, what I was going to say is about Fofana. We bought someone who clearly had shown some talent, and we bought him for that reason, to nurture him, to give him a good grounding, to give him a chance in the Premier League to show his worth. And I think most Leicester fans accept that is Leicester's position in the pyramid of football. We're not a European giant. We're not a giant in the Premier League. We can be successful in finding these gems, giving them an opportunity for a couple of seasons, 2-3 seasons, and then moving them on for profit. That has to be our raison d'etre, I think, for us to be successful. What I would say for Chelsea is you've set yourself up by spending 63 million for Cucurella and offering 60 million for Gordon at Everton. I would take Wes Fofana over both of those players. I like both of the others, but if that's the bar you're setting, there's no way you can come and try and pinch him for less. And thirdly, I would love Chelsea to take back control of the way football is going. Every football fan these days knows that there is too much power in the hands of the players. Here is a perfect opportunity for Chelsea to stand up on behalf of all the clubs and say, we do not like the way that you've handled this. We do not want that kind of behaviour in football. We are pulling out of the deal. Stay at Leicester. I would love Chelsea to make a stand and do that. Someone at some point needs to, because it's going too far now. So I would love Chelsea to just sit back and say, for the good of football, let's just call it. Let's not do it. Say, right, this behaviour is disrespectful to another member of the Premier League and all of their fans. We're not going to sign you.
You know, I'll just quickly come in here because I think the third point is a fantastic point from Craig. I'm not sure if we really meant to do that, Craig, but I think if you carefully follow the Chelsea transfer story this summer, we almost did that with Dembele. So with Dembele for Barcelona, I think the guy was out of contract in Barcelona and he was demanding a certain wage from Barcelona, and then he was demanding probably a higher wage from us even, right? So that is like kind of as in you got to compare both the clubs and then say, first of all, our wage structure is not so high. How can you be demanding so much? So we were like, no, as in we are not going to offer you until you basically either reduce your wages to what we can pay you, or you basically say, Barca, no, I'm not going to shop your offer with Chelsea's offer. I'm going to basically be committed. And then we did not offer him at all. And I know a lot of Chelsea fans were not happy with that fact because we ended up not even with Rafinha, and we have a problem with that wing, considering we might lose Ziyech. But with centre half, maybe the situation is a little bit different because we are like ever so desperate. You know what I mean? Like there literally no centre half, so like coming to Chelsea for whatever reason, right? Cucurella probably setting that bar was not right. But again, the fact that talk about Brighton agreed a certain fee with Man City, but they went totally North Pole with us for whatever reason, because they know the situation of a club. And that is the problem with Chelsea right now, because Todd Boehly himself is doing so much that he probably cannot handle more than that. Like that's the, it's reached the brim. So we are like, we have to pay. And I know in ideal situation, I agree with you 100%. But because like for this weekend, we don't have Koulibaly. Who are we going to play? Chalobah is already linked to like 2-3 clubs in the last 12 hours. So he's not in the right frame either. So we literally don't have any centre halves.
Todd Bowley is acting like every Chelsea fan is his new girlfriend, and he's trying to throw as much money at them to impress them and be their best friend forever.
And offering meals as well. Remember, he offered meal to a couple of clubs that he got Kukurea from one of them.
The question I want to add, following on from great points there, Craig, is how are Chelsea agreeing personal detail, personal what do they call it?
Personal terms.
Personal terms with a player that hasn't been given permission to talk to a club, is under contract until 2027. How the hell are you being allowed to do that? And then, Craig, I'll come to you afterwards, is how are we allowing it to be done that? And we can say, well, it's through the agent, blah, blah, blah. But how is it being allowed?
One word, agents. Players don't have to get involved anymore. Player sits down with his agent, says, right, this is what we want. Agent pops off, has a conversation, says, this is what he's looking for. Are you prepared to accept it? Yes, we are. We'll do that. Good. Go back, tell him that that's all fine. All we've got to do now is agree a fee. That's it. The player doesn't have to get involved. There's no discussions with the player. I bet no one from Chelsea has had any direct contact with Fofana.
Yeah. And the worst part is, you know what, guys, like the worst part is that news coming out again. It's maybe a new thing in football. Like basically last few years, these kind of news come out even sooner than what actual news which is supposed to come out, because the agents, you're right, absolutely, Craig, because the agents, if I'm not wrong, they also get a commission for as in putting these news out and stuff like that. So there's a lot more complication than what we kind of anticipate.
Yep.
I've got to ask as well then, Ankit, do you think Tom Bowley would be interested in buying us as a feeder club? Because, recent years, Kanté, Chilwell, even drink water. Now, why don't you just buy the club and we'll just sort of, swap players around?
You know what? I don't know about the club, but I got to say your scouting department is right on top, So that's something that has been missing. We literally don't have one. I would say, like it took us entire year last season, if you're talking about, entire season, the entire summer, we were linked with XYZ players. But then finally on the last day of the transfer window, we come out saying that, okay, our scouting department has scouted Saul, who apparently everyone in the world knows. But then you scout Saul and get him on loan, who doesn't even perform and he's hardly played. So I would any day buy, your scouting department. And of course, just the general, just the atmosphere on the club, that helps.
Well, then if you had, I wish you had, because you'd have got Vestergaard then.
But it doesn't work that way anymore, does it? Because, it's a food chain.
Yeah.
The so-called big clubs can't afford to take a chance on unproven players. So they allow the likes of Leicester and the middling teams to go and pick them up for seemingly peanuts in the big scheme of things. And they're quite happy to say, okay, you've done it. You've proven that he's worth it. We'll now come and buy him, because there's no way a Chelsea or a Man City or anyone like that who is going for a top four, when top four is getting much more competitive every season, is going to say, this season we're going to try 2 or 3 youngsters, unproven players, and see how that goes. It's not going to happen. Lampard was forced into a situation where he had to play some youngsters because you couldn't buy anybody. That went really well. As soon as he got money, he ditched them and started buying players.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. Just go through a couple of... before I go on to that, I think, as you said, Craig, I think we as Leicester appreciate our position in the great scheme of things. We will go to a Luton Town, we will go to an Oxford, we'll go to wherever and buy their players, and even abroad. And then somebody will come in and buy them off us. There's always a bigger bird out there that's going to pinch the worm from you. Yep. And like I said with Chelsea, no disrespect, but you've got the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids. And I get that. And I'm quite happy to buy players for 25, 30 million and sell them on a couple of years later for 70, 80 million pounds. I'm quite happy to do that. And obviously it's good for the club as well. What gets me is his attitude in this. Is it is a spoilt brat. I just hope you know sort of what you're buying. And I've got fed up with the Tielemans offer and all this backwards and forwards. But yes, he's playing badly, but he's never gone on strike. Fofana is now actually training with the under-21s, and there's a big argument for leaving him there to stew. If we're not going to accept your offer, leave him there to stew and bugger up his chance of getting in the World Cup. Or am I being nose spite face cut off?
Well, for me, I mean, you're right. I mean, Tielemans isn't playing particularly well, but you saw just from his penalty against Stockport, how pleased he was. I guess that was a lot of pressure on him, because if he'd have missed that or skied it like Perez did, everybody would say, you don't care, this, that, and the other. But his attitude seems to have been fairly well in the right place. Fofana, for me, I think you've still got an asset, and he needs to, if he doesn't go, he needs to work himself back into the good books, because you're right, he wants to be in that France squad. And who's to say? He has a fantastic half a year. He plays fantastically well in the World Cup, and Real Madrid coming by him for 100 million. Who's to say? So I think he doesn't play for us until the window shuts. That's for sure. That's not going to happen. And then it's going to take a couple of weeks, because I think shortly after the window shuts, we've got an international break anyway. So I think it'll be after the international break. If he's still with us, that's where you may see him come back. But he's going to have to show a lot of contrition, and not just to the fans. He's got to walk back into that changing room, and that's going to be the hardest thing.
To ask you that, Craig, because I say, not only have you got the fans who, let's be honest with you, weren't happy with the performance against Stockport at the end, but you've also got the players. How do you go in? And we're going to come on to the match after this. We'll go through some questions. But how do you turn up at the training ground and face those teammates? And the word there, the team, when you haven't even cheered the scoring a goal.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the hardest thing for him. And it's going to be his biggest lesson if he stays, of maybe having to look at himself in the mirror and realise that he's handled this personally very, very badly. And and I hope if he does go to Chelsea, I hope somebody there takes him under the wing and just says, you've got your move, but that isn't how you behave. I don't know how Ankit, in how things went down with he who shall not be named, who's now back in Italy. Whether there was anything that came out there.
And that's the interesting part, because I was just going through the Champions League draws. Very interesting draws have come up, but very interesting that you speak about Fofana like that, because as a Chelsea fan, I can relate to it, because we've had maybe not at the great end. We didn't get the great end of things, because I remember 3 such examples where the player really wanted to come to Chelsea. He almost went on a strike. He met the owner. He did everything possible, agreed terms, but did not turn up at Chelsea because the club did not want him for whatever reason. We didn't agree. I think one very recent one is, I remember John Stones when he was at Everton. Chelsea almost got him, but still didn't get him for whatever reason. I think Martinez was at the time at Everton, and we didn't get through that. Dani Alves, I remember he literally went on strike at Sevilla. He decided not to play at all for them. And you're right, like maybe after an international break, I remember exactly what happened. He came back and played a season with Sevilla, then went to Barcelona. And Luka Modric, this guy was actually on Roman's yacht, very infamously known. So there are a lot of examples. So again, being a young player that he is, Fofana, and the fact, again, don't forget that there is Saliba who's doing very well for Arsenal, and he's French as well. So he has competition in that France squad. Zuma as well coming back. A lot of competition there. So he needs to play week in, week out. If in case Chelsea go back 4, I'm just saying, like, because there is a strong chance, considering our last weekend's performance, we just change a formation. There might be a case that Fofana doesn't play week in, week out. So maybe from his point of view, it actually makes sense to stay at Leicester, if I'm being really honest. But again, being a Chelsea fan, I'd rather have him than not.
Yeah, I get that. I get that totally. But there's a lot to be said as well. And we will get onto the game after this, but obviously it was the elephant in the room, as they say. It's on top of all of this, the loser, even if we don't sell him, the loser is Leicester City. Because we've got now got an unsettled player that we don't know how long he's going to be, look at Mahrez. It was a few games for him, but he didn't play against Arsenal. He didn't play against Southampton. Sorry. It's affecting us, and we're the loser, even if we get £80 million for him, Craig.
Yeah, I think you can. I think if we get £80 million for him, I don't think you can class us as a loser, because what you've seen is almost something that was, if it's happened now, it was inevitably going to happen at some point, because he's clearly that kind of character. So if this can happen and we can still pull 80 million out, then I think it's one that we all put down to experience, and we just move on and forget that he ever played, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, let's just go through some comments. They have been piling up here. Where are we? Where did we get up to? Rich Sports was saying hi. LDH is in. Good evening. TM's in. Good evening. Andrew, a question for you, Craig. Are you in the right frame of mind for the show tonight?
I am. I'm always in the right frame of mind, Andrew. But thanks for asking. I know sometimes I can sound a little bit depressed, but
if I had a prize for post of the show, that would get it for this one. Ray says Harry Kane wanted to leave and he was forced to stay. Fofana should do the same, be strong and stay firm. I think you're talking different types of players, as we've said there. I think, you could say to Harry Kane is more like a Tielemans that, and he said if he doesn't go, and he'll stay and give his all for Leicester, where Fofana hasn't. David's in. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day. If Chelsea do what Craig says, what do Leicester do with him? I can think of a few things, but I better not say in case he's got rich lawyers. Craig, you should be on the TV. You talk much more sense than the idiots on Sky. I have to say, Craig, not according to Southampton fans, you don't. There's a certain Southampton fan on YouTube that wasn't impressed with your appraisal of Ward Prowse the other day.
All right, yeah.
Terry says, how come Rodgers claims he spoke to the players during his holidays? Did he mean their agents? Quite possibly. But then again, do we believe anything that comes out of Rodgers' mouth at the moment? Who knows? Yeah. But look, there's a game going on at the weekend. Believe it or not, one which Fofana won't be taking part in because obviously his mind's still not right. And I just think if we've dropped him, I just hope they've somehow stopped some of his pay, because he shouldn't be paid if he's going to have this. But I mean, it's only the World Club champions, Craig. It's a piece of piss, isn't it? We should walk away with this 6-0.
Yeah, 6-0 may be a push. Leeds have shown us how it can be done. But I can't see, it's rare that teams like Chelsea put back-to-back awful performances together. You would expect there's going to be a reaction. Obviously, Tuchel won't be on the sidelines with his ban that he got.
Yes.
But I think I'm expecting a reaction in front of your home fans as well. I think it's going to be a really tight one, because Chelsea can't afford to play against a team that likes playing on the break like they did against Leeds. They can't afford to do that. So it's going to be a tough one. But you would expect a reaction from Chelsea.
I mean, Ankit, I was expecting after the end of your game the game against Tottenham, when you shake somebody's hand and they've got a false hand and it comes out and they walk away with it. I was expecting that, but it's not been the best of. I mean, you've had the disruption, obviously, with Abramovich and all that, and we won't get into that on the show. But that has obviously disrupted the team somewhat. Yeah. But you've not had. I mean, I've got you down. I've got to be honest with you, for coming, I think, 6th this season.
Okay, you know what? I'll take. Sorry to cut you, but I'll take that as probably a good omen, because last year you had us kind of winning the league, and we did.
I did. You let me down. You always let me down, Chelsea. But what? Why? I mean, Leeds beating you 3-0. I mean, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, you know what? Leeds again. I think it was the first few minutes. It was kind of 50-50. Leeds gave it all. We kind of knew what to expect against Leeds, but I think it was more to the game than just the game itself, because it is Leeds and because of the rivalry that we have. If you remember, James had a spat as well, and then Koulibaly had one, and then he got a yellow card. So in first 7-8 minutes, getting a yellow card if a main defender was a main issue, and the way Leeds play, they kind of used that to perfection, and that is where we went wrong. From it went from bad to worse with Mendy doing what he did. So yes, if you actually kind of just look at the result and look at how Leeds played, definitely they deserved all the points of the last game, and we didn't play well. But if you see the particular moments, I think it was all about moments. Like, we kind of gave it away in those moments. I don't think we played as bad as what it kind of seems. But again, going back to the Spurs match, if you see, it was basically Chelsea against Anthony Taylor. That was what the match was all about. Simply put, right? Again, brilliant by Kane to finish that off. But sometimes Chelsea, that's a problem. We kind of find excuses within those games, and sometimes those excuses don't work to our benefit, because we are having many young players in the squad versus maybe in the mid 2000s when we had so many national team captains in our squad. So that time also Chelsea were known to do this. We always went back, fought with the referee. Jose Mourinho, remember the way that he always said that the entire world is against us. But that worked in our favor because of the characters that we had in the team. Now we don't have those characters, so we rather just focus on our football and let them focus, and that is what Tuchel needs to do. Tuchel, again, I would not agree with the fact that he went overboard with what he did with Conte. But at some point in time, you need those things coming from your manager than your players, and your players are rather them focus on the game. But Leicester, I'm telling you, like, I feared the worst. I fear that Brendan Rodgers will actually get the sack, and yet again, it'll be a club playing with a new manager, having the new manager bounce against Chelsea. So I'm glad that he's there. That's
Unfortunately,
the
I
only thing I
don't
can say.
think he'll be gone before Chelsea. But
No.
I mean, you look at who we've got coming up. We've got Tottenham, we've got Man United, we've got Brighton, who have also had a good start. I mean, we're going to lose all those anyway, Craig. Should we not get rid of him now and get someone in? Well, get in now early before it gets too bad.
Now, my view is I can fully understand all the criticism Brendan gets at the moment. As I've said on social media, I don't think he's been helped by the club, to be honest. I think in this day and age, there should be other spokespeople.
Agreed.
Football club's a big business.
Yeah.
To expect a manager to come out and have to answer questions about how the club's being run, how the finances are, I don't think it's right on Brendan that he should have to deal with all that. There should be other spokespeople for that.
Agreed.
He can talk about the football side and then do one, and then someone else can come in and talk about the rest of it. But for me, he's got until the end of September. I think you need a month after the window shuts, when everything settles down. You know who you've got. You know who your team is. Those who wanted to go have gone. Those who don't, are here. And at that point, that's when you judge him. I think there's just too much uncertainty around the place. It's had a knock-on effect on the other players. I think all this uncertainty around Tielemans, around Fofana. So I think he's struggling personally. I don't think he's had a situation like this. So I think to shoot him now without anybody else really in charge, or lined up, I'm not sure is the right thing to do. I think a couple more bad defeats and it becomes untenable. But for now, let's see.
Quick point. Yeah, I think maybe clubs will think about it like being a World Cup year. Will come into it, because that's like almost like part one of the Premier League. This time was part two. Maybe they will just go for it till part one and then maybe make that change, right after or during the World Cup. That is the better way to go.
I agree totally, Ankit. And I said this at the start that that there'll be a lot of managers looking over the shoulder come the start, because you've got a month off. And so if you've got a team that where your players are still going to have to obviously be doing training that haven't gone to the World Cup, the manager gets used to that. And when the others come back, you've got a week then before the transfer window opens. But I just, for me, it's the performances. But you know, we've had enough sort of Brendan out chats on this. I mean, do you look at us now, Ankit, and think this? Yeah, you know, this is a great time to be playing Leicester. Or are you sat there thinking, well, you know, Leeds have just done us. You know, no manager on the touchline. Although we're quite happy to lend you Rodgers for 90 minutes, or and as Jason said there, no regular centre back maybe. And are you at all worried about this?
Well, I have to be honest. Like, I always felt of Leicester in the last season and a half that you were underperformed, right? The kind of squad you have, I know that there have been loads of injuries over the last season, but even right now, if you talk about it, right, as in I'm just picking players here, as in that is what Chelsea lacks, right? That quality players, one set piece, and that is all you need. We are terrible. We are probably one of the worst sides when it comes to set pieces. Madison, I know that he had a slight muscle injury. Talk about Leicester, but yeah, I think his delivery, Madison's delivery, probably is key. Tielemans again, he's someone who delivers the ball well from spaces. So I think there are a lot of players there. Of course, we can never discount Wadi of the likes. You have Daka, a lot of options. So quality is right there. Yeah, and we are a kind of team which kind of we dominate against Spurs, for example. Like it was literally we give them a schooling. But then those two moments, and that is what it's all about Chelsea. So that is the only reason why I'm scared, because clearly the Achilles heel for Chelsea is like on that counter that Craig spoke about, basically those set pieces which I spoke about. Those are things that Leicester are probably good at compared to most sides.
Yeah. Craig, I mean, Jason says there the club signings during the last few weeks is shocking, and that's we both said that in recent shows. And we're going to come on we're going to towards the end of the show, we're going to come on to your tactics in the team that you might put out if you were in Brendan's shoes. We've given up trying to pick the team for Brendan because he goes completely against it. Is there any way you can look at this with our start? We threw 2 goals away against Brentford. We were handed out a footballing lesson by Arsenal, and the team that we beat 9-0 a couple of years ago with 10 of those players still in our squad couldn't hold on to a 1-0 lead. Is there any grain of that you can see there that we might get something from this game?
There is, and I think it'll all come down to attitude, to be honest. Attitude and work rate. I don't think we can go into it feeling sorry for ourselves and not put in 100%. And I think if we do that, I think structurally we can handle it. I've been a little bit disappointed, I must say, with Chelsea so far. I thought Havertz was going to have a big season so far. It seems to have taken a little bit of time. I don't know whether the arrival of Sterling has disrupted a little bit. He's looked lively, but I don't know if there's a bit of disruption that's come from that. I thought Gallagher might get more pitch time, and he's not really. So that's another one that's up in the air. Is Gallagher going to stay? Is he going to go?
I think Sterling's an absolutely amazing buy for you, Ankit.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, but Craig is right, because if you see the way that Tuchel has played him, the problem is Havertz hasn't been himself. Like Havertz, if you see, and there have been certain games where he's been looked like world class. There have been certain games where he's looked like so raw that probably me or Mete could play better. That's how bad it looked. And really, I literally mean it, because the guy needs to be still at some point. I know that we play a floating forward, but because Havertz has not been able to prove that he can also be a number 9 for week in, week out, that is the reason why Tuchel has actually in the last, say, a game and a half, what he's gone is he's got Sterling right in the middle. And what happens is Sterling is a runner, really. You don't do that with Sterling. And we are losing the main attribute of Sterling because of that. And Craig is 100% right. I agree with him. That's why we need a number 9. That's why he's probably going for Aubameyang.
And Craig, our best chance of getting anything from the game has gone anyway, because Chelsea sold Werner.
Well, they have, but I mean, I think Werner was just almost like wrong time, wrong team. There's clearly a player there. He didn't adapt enough. He was quick enough that he could have given most backlines 2 or 3 yards, but he couldn't hold himself back, and he was offside so many times. And then it became that sort of self-fulfilling prophecy of because he was breaking through from such a deep position most of the time, a striker doesn't need time to think. And he was having so much time to think about what he's going to do. It just didn't work. He's clearly a decent player, but it just didn't work for him. And I just don't think that Tuchel has worked out what his best team shape is at the minute this season with the guys that you brought in. You know, Ziyech looks like he's going to go again. Again, great player. He's still. I mean, you've got Loftus-Cheek, who's looked impressive from what I've seen. A ball carrier, but then he looks up and you've got players making the same runs. It's all a little bit disjointed at the minute, and that's why I have a little bit of confidence that we can try and grind something out.
Tuchel, Ankit, we'd probably be sat here if you had your previous owner in charge going, is a dead man walking? He'll be gone in a couple of weeks. Different owner, I think Tuchel's going to be given the time, isn't he?
You know what? So the role of Tuchel is kind of changed over the last 6 months, right? Because of what happened. Now he's handled a lot of the pitch issues, which I think in a normal scenario he wouldn't have, and maybe that would have given him the focus that he needed on the pitch, and that is what was missing. So yes, in hindsight, you can always kind of think that okay, ifs and buts are always there, but I genuinely believe that Tuchel, the tactician he is. Yes, he's not worked out very well with his forwards. I agree with Craig. He's not got his, forward line set especially. But apart from that, I think the way he grinds the team, the way he kind of, as in tells them every minute what to do, I think he knows what he's doing. So I don't think it would have come to that, because I genuinely believe that we would have done, again, it may come across as basically an easy answer, but if we were not in the situation, I genuinely believe that Tuchel would have done much, much better, because if you remember, just last December 1st, we were actually on top of the league. And that's how football goes, right? And I remember the Champions League game against Juventus. Like, we gave Juventus a proper footballing lesson. And we beat them 4-0. And that was the game when Ben Chilwell got injured. The next game, Reece James got injured. Then we had the Wolves game where we were forced to play with almost 11 fit players. And then obviously the ownership happened and Tuchel had his personal issues. So a lot of things where he has taken up the responsibility. I think the way that we have gone about transfers this time, yes, we don't have a director in place, and that's why Todd Bowley has done that. But I genuinely believe that if Tuchel is able to get that one player who plays for him in the forward line, because right now what's happening is players in the forward line from Werner, from Lukaku, what I understand, they haven't been happy with the way Tuchel used them. So if he gets maybe an Aubameyang, who probably, yes, I probably despised him, I won't lie, when he was at Arsenal. And of course, yeah, he maybe didn't treat Arteta rightly or other way. I don't know, it's arguable. But if he comes, he's one I know, as a matter of fact, even during his Arsenal days, used to love Tuchel. So maybe he just needs that one guy who absolutely adores Tuchel in the forward line, knows exactly what Tuchel is expecting. And I genuinely believe that we will be doing much better, generally. Because if you see, we have that, team, we have those creative moments. It's just that we are not able to do in the final third what we need to do.
I watched the first game because it was the late kickoff. It was on telly, Everton versus Chelsea. And I'd got you as probably coming out of that on a 4-5-0 winners. Everton looked, and they always did play better at home last season than away. I mean, they only got 2 wins away, but we won't talk about those, will we, Craig?
No.
But Everton impressed me, and I mean, is he the man to turn it round? Is he going? I mean, you only just managed to beat Everton 1-0, and when I say that, it was only just because I think Everton, I think, played really, really well. Were you ahead against Tottenham, or were Tottenham ahead against you?
No, we were basically we scored 2-1, right? So we were we scored the first and then the third goal. So basically we were ahead of Tottenham. But again,
so you let them sort of catch up, and then you've got Leeds. This is, and I know we're only 4 games in here, but there's so much pressure on managers these days. I think there's probably more pressure on Tuchel than on Rodgers, because if we lose this, it's a case of, well, it's Chelsea. How many times have we beaten them? Where you're almost expected to beat us, looking at the form table and how Leicester are playing.
It's interesting to say that because, see, as in for me, yes, one thing is which games you expect to win and which you don't. And of course, considering the form, I won't disagree there. But again, context into it, right? For example, we are missing Koulibaly and things like that. I know it comes across as an excuse, but the fact that I think Tuchel is going for the players like Gordon, for instance, like he's a hard worker who actually has a little bit of skill. Yes, of course, overpaying for him, whatever. But it is clear that we are still not the squad that we want to be. So we've lost like so many players. So he's still kind of rebuilding. So it's a rebuilding phase. So I would say probably I would keep both at the same level because yes, we are expected to beat Leicester, but considering that Burley is coming on the fact that okay, it's a long-term kind of strategy. He's not coming here saying that okay, we're going to win the league, in year one, and that's something that he's gone public saying. So I would assume that what he's saying is what he really means with the entire consortium going, and the fact that Tuchel has worked behind the scenes, they're working in tandem. So I think it's a week by week kind of thing right now. I won't say that the pressure is as much, but yeah, it's more from the fan base really this time around. Yes, in Abramovich it is different, but now fan base is they can turn it on.
Yeah. We are going to, I've avoided this as long as I could, but we are going to have to do some score predictions, I'm afraid. And we'll do it straight after this.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Yep, do what they say and please do subscribe. Yeah, not many of us have much faith in our team this weekend, Craig, do we? I mean, I've gone for a 2-0 to Chelsea. I'm trying a bit of the old reverse psychology here. You've gone 1-1. I think you said more in hope than anything. Steve Linett says for some reason, I don't know if he's lost the plot, he's gone 1-0 to Leicester. Steve Walsh has gone 1-1, but he did put a face palm emoji after he sent me that. Ian Marsh has gone 2-0. Jerry Taggart, who of course won this league last season, went 2-1, and Ian Wilson has even gone 3-1. And I'd like to be able to think we can keep it down to 3. Ankit, what do you think on this? I mean, you're obviously going to go for it. Oh, hang on a second. I've done it again. Hang on.
Problem. You know what? But this is an interesting one because, again, taking context into consideration, we are not having Koulibaly. So I'm thinking that we probably have no other option but to go 3 at the back because we have those players who can play left centre back, right centre back, or really full backs. So that may make it a little bit tighter than what we expect because otherwise it would have been a free, kind of a thing on the left wing for you guys. So I'm guessing you guys will score only 1 goal and not more than that, not what Leeds did. But yeah, I'm hoping and praying like you're right. As in Sterling has probably looked brighter than others. So and last match he got an offside goal, but that was a good finish. So I'm hoping that at least he gets 1, and we always depend on our wing backs to score 1. So I'm going for a 2-1. At Stamford Bridge, I think that should be doable.
At least that's not embarrassing. I mean, we hope we don't go 3 at the back, don't we, Craig? And I mean, we're going to be coming on to that obviously in a second.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I just want to go to bed tomorrow night and then wake up Monday morning and it's all been over and it's all been a bad dream and I've forgotten it. Ankit, mate, thank you so very much for coming on. We'll let you go. So I'm guessing it's about 3 a.m. over there where you are.
No, just about one. But again, thanks a lot for having me. Always a great channel. Of course, it's been a long time. I need to call you guys on my channel as well. Always invited. But again, people out there, again, do hit that like button. Absolutely. Chris is brilliant, as so is Craig. And obviously, I'm trying to add as many compliments as possible before I get to the top of the leaderboard this time around. Hopefully, I do.
Well, yeah, you might do well because you're allowed to pick on this quiz that Craig said. You're allowed to have a specialist round. So I think if you're going for what I think you might be doing, which might be cricket, you might be making the job very hard for Craig. I don't know.
Nice one.
I don't know. We can't call them Chelsea anymore, Andrew. We're not, that's
come on, we cannot.
now. And Luke is in as well. Terry says, after Tuesday, I dread to think 5-1. God, no. Ankit, where again, it's great to have you on. You've got a great channel. You've grown immensely, and you've got the cricket one as well. Again, it is below in the link in the YouTube description, but just give us a reminder where people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's Almighty Blues FC. It's a fan channel for all to see. Yes, I'm a Chelsea fan, but I cover basically all the top 5 leagues and some international football. Yes, for the cricket, I have started a different channel. If you're interested, it's called Almighty Sports Plus. So these are my 2 channels, absolutely. But hope you guys even give support to Leicester TV as much as possible. So big up everyone and see you soon. Hopefully we come back with a win and have a discussion.
Brilliant. I wish you all the best for the weekend, but I don't mean it.
Same here.
Those of you that say, well, let's just hope football's the winner, bugger it. No, we want Leicester to win, but there's no chance. Always a pleasure for you, Ankit, and we'll get you on the quiz ASAP. Thanks so much, Ankit. Take care, mate.
Bye, Craig.
Have a good sleep. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, thanks to Ankit. Always value for money, Ankit, isn't he?
Yeah, where's he? Well, I forget where he's coming in from.
India.
Right.
He was in Canada. This is where it gets confusing because he was in Canada, but now he's in India. And I don't know. He was talking about going back, but of course, with the COVID restrictions, it never happened. So whether he still is or not, I don't know. But I do go on a lot because of the time difference.
Yeah,
he doesn't often clash with a lot of my shows, so I do tend to go on, and he does do a great channel. And he speaks English a lot better than I can speak Indian. Let me just put it that way. Now then, sir, we have got some graphics for you, I do believe. Now, are you ready to do those now, sir?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I think I've got them in the right order, so tell me off if I haven't. There we go. Oops, hang on a second. Yep, there we go. Is that the first one?
Yeah, basically, because so we were just talking about formations and how we were going to set up, and I know now that it sounds like Maddison may miss out as he had a bit of a strain in training, so that could change things a little. But this is just how I think we should be setting up, particularly against Chelsea. And it's good to hear Ankit saying that he thinks they're going to go 3 at the back, because I think they'll go 3 at the back as well. And I think that's why it's really important that we set up in almost like a 4-4-2, but we do have the 2 up top.
You don't mean...
Ladies and gentlemen, England will be playing 4-4-2.
You don't mean that, do you?
Exactly. I remember last season we played Chelsea at home quite early on, and Brendan, in his wisdom, just so people know it's not a new thing, Brendan, in his wisdom, decided to match them up like for like and play 3 at the back with wing backs, which is great if your players are better than the others and the opposition. And clearly we weren't, and they absolutely steamrolled us. And I remember doing an interview after the match, and I had Chelsea down thinking on that form that they could go on and win the league. Obviously, it didn't happen. They lost a few players, but I don't think there's any way we can try and match wing backs against their wing backs and hope to come out on top. That only works if you've got possession, and we know that we were never going to have as much possession against Chelsea, which means your wing backs get pushed back and you end up playing with a 5, and then you never get up the pitch, and that's exactly what happened. So for me, we have to go in this kind of formation, and I think it will help us in going forward and defending against Chelsea.
I've always been, and I know I'm old-fashioned, but I've always been a 4-4-2 fan. I think, we just seem to play better in that formation.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, just question that there, that white dots, shouldn't they be green and black checkered dots that we've got up there?
They probably should be. To be fair, I did have us in blue, but they were a little bit difficult to see against the green.
Yeah.
Particularly,
No. I just...
I'm thinking of our colourblind viewers out there. So
of course, yes. As I said once on Pot Black, if you're watching in black and white, white's behind the blue or whatever it was. Yeah. But yeah, just very quickly before we move on to your next slide, green and black checkered trim.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I like the early pictures that were coming out, when it was just looked like it was black with a mint green trim. That's fine.
Yes.
Not sure what's gone on.
I waited to order to see because I like that. And to be honest with you, a lot of these that are leaked have actually been spot on recently.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll wait and see what this like. I do like a bit of green and black. I think they go well together, but yeah, I saw that, and it's like, yes, well, okay. That's why I'm wearing this one and not the not the second one. So your next slide was attacking.
Yeah. So what I thought here is this is taking something not just from the way Leeds played against Chelsea, but also the way Manchester United played against Liverpool. And for me, if you're playing against a team who want to, in this formation, have wing backs, but in Liverpool's case, they just have fullbacks that push on, is to exploit the space down the channels. And I think if we're playing two up front with Vardy and Iheanacho, when the ball turns over, there's every chance that those wing backs are going to be pushed on very high with Chelsea, so we can exploit the space down in behind them, which means the centre halves get dragged out to allow your midfield to go in and fill the space. And I think that transition needs to be exploited. And the biggest downfall to that will be that we try and play too much through midfield and they get back in position. But as you can see there, if we can turn the ball over with their wing backs up, there's going to be space in behind them. And that's where Iheanacho and Vardy should be looking to go, and then supported from midfield. So from an attacking perspective, I think that's our best opportunity of getting a breakthrough there.
Well, fingers crossed. Now, you've also done one for defending.
Well, that's it. Because the thing is now that Chelsea like playing out from the back, and particularly with wing backs, they like to get the ball to the wing backs as quickly as possible. And if we're playing in this formation with a 4 across the midfield, so the way that I'd set this up would have been Dewsbury Hall on the left, Perez on the right, Maddison and Ndidi as a 4, is the fact that on this side that you've got there, so if the ball's being fed out to a wing back, you've got Dewsbury Hall coming and closing in from the front. You've got Vardy on that left-hand side coming and closing in from the side. And then your other striker drops back to stop the ball being passed inside to Jorginho. So you basically end up isolating the wing back there by having a 2 up front and catching them out in that. So they either have to go backwards or they have to go longer. And you would expect with the strikers that they've got that we should be able to exploit that and then counterattack. So for me, that's why the 2 up front is pivotal to us being able to exploit Chelsea playing with wing backs. And if we try and match up, then we're not gonna be able to do it.
If anybody doesn't, or has got a bit of spare time on their hands, if they want to clip that and send that down to Brendan, then please do, because that we're going to be going through the conference, the press conference at 7 o'clock, and I think that's probably a lot more sense in that short time than Brendan will be speaking in the half hour or so tonight. Thank you. I mean, again, to me, mate, that makes perfect sense. But we know Brendan.
We know that it'll bear no relation to the team that goes out.
Yeah. Now we did say we're going to pick the team, and I do like this part. I'm bringing this back, and I want it to be not the team that you think Brendan will go for.
Yeah.
But I want to say the team that you think, with your knowledge and experience you've just shown there, that you think we could get something out of the game with. And I'm just checking if there was another quote there. So let me just bring this up. So here we go. I have actually, Craig did, not Craig, you're Craig. Scott did say, have I got the formation you wanted? Thankfully, I did check earlier and you had gone for 4-4-2.
Yep.
So I am absolutely okay. Now we've got a choice of 4-4-2. That's 4-4-2B.
Yep.
I've got 4-4-2A.
I'm not sure there's a lot of difference between them.
No, it's more defensive for the B. Yeah. I suppose my question to you is, to be or not to be?
Oh, very good. Let's go with the second one.
Sorry. I'm laughing at that because I'm really impressed with myself. off the top of my head, I'm really pleased. Right, so we're going for the second one, the defensive one. Right.
No, the other one. Sorry,
the other one. That one there. Right.
Yeah.
Goal. Now, a lot of people have actually been asking or been saying in social media to get Iverson in goal.
Yeah. So, goalkeeper for me, Danny Ward.
You don't agree with them then?
Well, no. I mean, by the same... Let's apply the same logic. So, in previous seasons, Danny Ward has played in the Carabao Cup, and to my knowledge, is responsible for us winning at least 2, if not 3, penalty shootouts.
Yes.
And I don't remember there being a clamour for him to then take the place of Schmeichel.
No.
So
I agree 110% with that. Because as you know, I was all for sort of moving Schmeichel on and promoting Ward up anyway. And let's be honest with you, Iverson was playing against Stockport, who had 4 shots on goal all game, apart from the penalties. Only one of those was on target. You know, I mean, Ward has been playing, Premier League teams and an Arsenal. So, I agree with you. He keeps.
For me, Everson is a really good prospect, and I think his time will come. And when he gets his chance, I think he may well grab the shirt and not let it go. But for now, I don't think Ward, apart from one blunder, has done anything that warrants him.
Indeed. And as much as we all say, how good Casper was, he had a blunder in him from time to time. So, right, on the left back position.
So James Justin.
I think you won't get many arguments with that. No. On the right back, are we talking Castagna?
Right centre half, Johnny Evans.
Right centre half. Yep.
That's the left, but that'll do.
Hang on. Sorry. No. Let me. It's because it's hard for me to see. Like it's the red on the green that it actually lights up. So. Look at that. Is that good? He plays in 2 positions.
The ball will never move. He'll just keep passing it to himself.
I've now got to remember which one was left or which one. Left.
Yeah. Now, for a short period of time, I almost went with Vestergaard in here. And I'll tell you why. It was because he is a decent passer of the ball, is Vestergaard. And if we were looking to transition quickly, missing out the midfield and going longer down into the channels, then he would be ideal for it. But I've gone for Soyuncu, a naturally left-sided player.
Yep. I've got to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, both Vestergaard and Soyuncu played against Stockport.
Mighty Stockport, I think they're called.
Indeed, they got to the semis one season, I was told, or the quarters. I can't remember, but let's take into account that it is only Stockport, but according to Alan Bennett, who's sort of our guy at the match, and we were talking sort of, who was the best player, man of the match, etc. I asked him about Vestergaard, and he actually said he had a decent game.
Yeah.
And yes, the argument is where it's only Stockport, etc., etc. But you've still got to prove it. It was still at the potential banana skin.
Yeah.
And you've got to look at both him and Cags reduce Stockport to get in 4 shots in all game.
Yeah.
In full time. So, let's not, we could say, well, they only had that many shots, but that's all we let them have. But no, definitely for me, Soyuncu has got to come back. Yeah. And if Amarty's there, I'm just going to give up on the watch along and go out, and you'll just see a blank screen. Left midfield, I think I know where you're going with this one.
Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah.
Now, I know, it's probably guaranteed that Harvey Barnes will be playing. So which means poor James Justin is going to get given the runaround because, sadly, particularly against wing-backs, Harvey Barnes doesn't have the footballing brain to know when to go and when not to go, where he should be tucking in and covering his fullback. And I can just see that being a nightmare if he plays Harvey Barnes down that left-hand side. Reece James will have an absolute field day. So that's why I've gone with the 4.
Yeah, no, I would have agreed with you anyway. So well done. Yeah. On the right,
these 3 are tricky. To be honest,
we've got no Maddison, have we? Of course.
Well, I'm going to say when I picked it, it would have been Maddison in there, in the middle, as one of them. And I know somebody just put in the chat that Pratt must play, but he wasn't playing in what I'd picked just because of the formation. On the right, I'm going to go with Perez again. I think he had a very good 55, 60 minutes against Southampton. I think he linked up very well down that right-hand side. And I think he gives us you're not going to get as much of a forward threat with Dewsbury Hall. So I think you need to balance that out with someone who can get a bit more forward. And then allow a 3 to drop in. So that's why I've gone for Perez.
I picked Perez for the Southampton game purely on the fact that he likes a goal against Southampton normally. But watching the game, as I was able to, I was very impressed. And I have actually, I've joked about Vestergaard earlier, but Vestergaard Perez, for me, everybody starts with a clean sheet this season. Yeah. Last season is gone. We start this season, and Perez against Southampton was linking up, like you said, so well with Castagna.
Yeah.
They seem to have an understanding. And, okay, let's give him a run. Let's not drop him after one game. Let's give him a run and see where we go with it.
And I think he will benefit from having 2 in front of him as well. Yeah. Because he likes to take up little pockets of space and play 1-2s.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
So
in the middle then, this is where it will get even harder for you.
Well, now we're going to have to assume that Maddison's not playing, sadly. So I'm going to go with Ndidi in there.
On the right one?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're going to have to pivot around each other, to be honest. We know that naturally Ndidi will sit back a little bit deeper. But we'll put him in there. I think you could almost make an argument as well for having Pratt in there instead of Ndidi, because based on his form coming back last season, obviously he was injured for a little bit, but his form this season, he doesn't look after the ball well enough for me. And he's in a really important position where he plays that you cannot give the ball away in those positions. The biggest thing that you've got, we talk about is pitch coverage and reading the play and interceptions. That's all great. Jorginho does the same kind of role for Chelsea, and he hasn't got the pitch coverage. He doesn't tackle as well as Ndidi, but he keeps the ball. He keeps the ball moving. And so you could make an argument if Maddison was playing that Pratt could play in there and potentially use the ball a lot better. But let's take it that Maddison's not going to play, so we'll go with Ndidi, and then we'll put Pratt in alongside him.
Oh, good man. I thought for a moment there you were going to put Tielemans back in.
Right.
So just very quickly say congratulations to Serena Weigmann, named the UEFA Women's Coach of the Year. Well, obviously, well deserved.
Tough act to follow, following Phil Neville as well. So well done to her.
Yes. Jason, so just go through some comments before we go to your two up front. Jason likes 4-1-4-1. You've usually gone for that in the past, haven't you? Mind you, that's probably because I haven't got your first voice of formation.
Yeah.
Drop Wilf out in front of the back four, and then Barnes. Yeah, he said. I think the problem is, like you say, indeed, he's not having the best games at the moment. And I think if everybody was to turn up and have a good game in the same game, there's a 3 or 4-0 victory there for us, but we just can't get all 11 at the same time. Scott, I'd have Ndidi and KDH in centre midfield, Pratt on the left and Perez on the right. I don't think Pratt's really a winger, though, is he?
No, but I think I'd take it as a fair point from Scott, because what we're asking them to do is really look after the wing backs and then try and spring forward. And it was just the fact that KDH was naturally more left-sided.
Yes.
But I thought if he closed down and won the ball back, he's much more capable of going forward and carrying it than Pratt naturally.
And quite often the best form of defence is attack, and he is good at going forward, but he has also got, he said, that little bit extra defensive brain, I think, than, like you say, than Barnes has. Del Boy's in. What's the crack, Del Boy? How the devil are you? Scott, Jason, I'm going off Craig's formation with the players definitely available. I haven't invited it. Right, I'm with you. Yeah, I thought he was going off the idea. Fofana and Soyuncu, says Ray. Although Wilf can't pass for shite, which is why I prefer to drop him deeper to stop attacks and not give the ball away. Yeah, I mean, that's where you've got the thief. If you could merge him and Mendy together, I think you've got a top star player in there. And then him and Jason and what have you are just talking to each other. If anybody's modding, if you want to get rid of the love chats, adult dating sites for me, that would be much appreciated. Yes, indeed. I've made a note of the site for later, Jason. But Scott, if you can do that for me and give them a ban, that would be much appreciated. So, I think I know from what you said earlier which way this is going, but front. Let's go front left.
Yeah, Vardy.
I mean, we know he's signed an extension. Whether he's regretting it yet or not, we don't know. But is he? I'm not saying that he's at the end of his career. We know he's probably only going to be on for 60 minutes. But you would start with him over Daka, would you?
Only in a 2. I wouldn't start if it was a 1. I wouldn't start him, and I tell you why is because I think he's taken to heart what Brendan has told him to do. Limit your runs, play in bursts, which doesn't help us because he's not making the runs when players are looking up. They're sort of caught between. The players look up and expect Vardy to already be on the move, but because he's sort of conserving his energy, he's only making a run when he knows that someone's on the ball and is going to make it. So for me, he's not working hard enough at all. I used to play up front, and if you were up there, your job was to be, when your team was under pressure, if the ball was down with Castagna, he was under pressure. Your job as a striker was to be on his side of the pitch so he had an out ball. And Vardy's not offering that. So often what we're being asked to do is play back into the middle of the pitch instead of a ball down the side into the channels because Vardy's not making those runs. So for me, with the 2, I think you can afford to have Vardy almost concentrating on one half of the pitch up there and then Iheanacho down the other side.
I'm just saying, haven't you hold the record? Haven't you got a sort of a best ever goal scored at the King Power or Walkers?
No, not me. No, that was a colleague of mine who tells me I have scored at the King Power a couple of times, but no, that's a colleague that I work with whose goal has got further and further out every time he tells it. Now, I think the last time he was on the goal line where he scored from, that's how far out he was.
Like the proverbial fish.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. To be honest with you, as I look at that, I mean, when we saw Stockport, I thought, great, 2 up front. And then looking at the formation, it almost looked like Inacho was on the wing.
Yeah, I just don't get how Brendan sets up, particularly going forward, to be honest. You know, what Brendan says and what Brendan does are 2 different things. I'm starting to think he's sort of slightly schizophrenic. He's like the old Steve Martin film, The Man with 2 Brains, but they don't talk to each other.
Yes. I'm thinking of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde here. I don't know which one he is, but no. I mean, for me, I like 4-4-2. And when I saw the Daka and Inacho, I thought brilliant, and then he didn't play it like that. To me, with what is available to us at the moment, Perez, like you say, he hasn't played badly, and he had a good game with Castagna down that wing against Southampton. And like I say, Dewsbury Hall does give Pat that little bit of extra help down the left, and Soyuncu in. And yet, let's give Pat a start. And I know it's going to be Tielemans. I mean, does Tielemans have to actually get a -6 performance to actually be dropped?
Yeah,
that is the question.
Yeah. I mean, even with that, and I know people were talking about playing Ndidi a little bit further back, which is fine if you can. I mean, if you dropped Ndidi back and you move Pratt into the middle there, what it allows you to do is create those 2 triangles: Dewsbury Hall, Vardy, and Pratt, Iheanacho, Perez, and Pratt, to block in their wing backs once to try and stop them playing out from there and force them to go long. And you would hope that Evans and Soyuncu could deal with any long balls.
Yeah. Just 2 quick points here. Scott says, doesn't Pratt normally play on the left for Belgium? To be honest with you, I'll bow to your superior knowledge on that one. And Jason says, Vardy could have a good game with no regular centre-back.
I mean, it's still. I mean, they're still going to have. It'd be interesting to see who he plays there. But I mean, Thiago Silva is a class act.
I'm going to say they're not bad even without him, are they? Really, you know.
But the fact is that with having 2 up front, you've got a better chance of them playing the channels and dragging him out of position, and then it exposes whoever else is left. So maybe Azpilicueta. I don't know. He might even bring Chilwell back, or Cucurella, and play one of them as a left-sided centre-back.
Indeed. And excuse me, Scott, so I think Samari's dames are numbered, to be honest with you. Palace and somebody else are interested in him. So if he's, I think he wasn't even in the squad, was he, against Southampton? So, but we've gone on a little bit tonight. It's the new layout. I think it works, and I love your graphs and your graphics. Sorry. So, if you want to do that regularly, I'm more than happy to have that in there with you. And that sounded wrong, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
and I always like you because when you pick the team, I look at that thinking like it gives me some hope. Until 2 o'clock match day, and then it was all dashed as well. But Craig, as always, mate, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good weekend. Have a safe weekend.
Cheers.
I'm sure you're going to go off now and order the green second shirt. It will suit you.
Thank you.
I will speak to you, because we've obviously got the quiz coming up with Reese, haven't we?
We have indeed, yes. I need to be working on that and his specialist subject as well.
I'm trying to think when that is.
That's a couple of weeks, I think.
Oh, it is the 14th. Yeah, the 14th. Yeah. Join me at 10 o'clock, and we'll now be joined by Brad. We're looking at the press conference, and on Monday we have got Rob Tanner coming up, so he'll be talking all things Leicester just before the window closes. And on the 5th of September, we are going to be joined by Tony Cotty. So we have not got a review show that night, but, things move for Tony Cottee, shall we say.
Indeed.
And I should say, any West Ham and Everton fans are watching, the one trophy he won was with us. I rest my case.
Indeed.
Craig, thank you very much, young man.
You're welcome.
And I will speak to you soon. Take care.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Cheers. Cheers, Chris.
Bye-bye. Thanks for Craig for doing that. Great input as always, and really did say loved his graphics. Connor is in. Good evening, Connor. How are you? Welcome along, sir. If you are new, please do give us a subscribe. And if you have subscribed and you haven't yet liked the video, please do. It really does help with the old algorithms. TM, thanks, guys, and good luck for the weekend. Oh, good luck. We need a miracle. But good luck to you as well, TM. Sooner you win it than Arsenal. I know I'm being blasphemous there, but I really would. I will see you back in just under an hour and a half time when we'll be seeing what His Lord Almighty Brendan had to say earlier, and I'm sure it'll be very heated. Thanks very much now, and as always, thanks to Craig. It has been a pleasure, and we will see you at 10 o'clock, everybody. Remember, don't touch that dial.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
Some scribbler on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now.